Your family's genes can erase sleep forever. There is a disease that takes sleep away from you. Not gradually, the way stress does, not partially, the way age does. It takes all of it, and then it takes you. It is called fatal familial insomnia, and if it is in your family, it is already in your DNA. It begins quietly. You start having trouble sleeping. Not unusual, not alarming. Most people have bad nights. You might not think anything of it at first, but the nights keep getting worse, and then they stop being nights at all. The disease is caused by a single misfolded protein in the brain, a prion. Prions are not viruses, not bacteria, not alive in any meaningful sense. They are simply a protein that has bent into the wrong shape, and that wrong shape is contagious to every normal protein around it. One misfolded protein touches another. Now there are two, then four, then a cascade that cannot be stopped. The damage accumulates in a region called the thalamus. The thalamus is, among other things, the brain's gatekeeper for sleep, the structure that regulates the transition between waking and unconsciousness. When prions destroy it, that gate locks open. You are awake. You will stay awake. The disease moves through 4 stages. In the first, the insomnia begins and the panic sets in. You know something is wrong. You can feel sleep retreating from you like a tide going out. In the second stage, hallucinations arrive. Not vivid, cinematic ones. Quiet ones. Presences at the edge of vision. Sounds that don't quite resolve into words. Your waking world and whatever is left of dreaming begin to bleed together. By the third stage, you can no longer function. You cannot hold a conversation. You cannot care for yourself. Your body begins to deteriorate from the inside because sleep is not rest. Sleep is maintenance. Every night, your brain flushes waste products through a system called the glymphatic pathway. It consolidates memory, repairs tissue, resets the hormonal systems that keep the body stable. Without sleep, none of that happens. The waste accumulates. The repairs don't come. The systems destabilize one by one. Your heart rate and blood pressure become erratic. Temperature regulation fails. You sweat without cause, lose weight without trying. The body is trying to tell you something is wrong, but there is nothing to be done. And here's where the dread deepens. Because you are conscious for most of this, the mind does not mercifully go early. Patients in the third stage are still aware of what is happening to them. They know they cannot sleep. They know what that means. They are trapped inside a waking that will not end. This is not a thought experiment. This has happened to real people, in real families across generations. The fourth stage is a coma-like state, and then death. The entire progression, from first sleepless night to the end, takes roughly 6 to 36 months. There is no cure, no treatment that reverses or even meaningfully slows it. Sedatives do not work. The brain cannot be forced into sleep when the thalamus is gone. Patients have been placed under anesthesia and still do not achieve restorative sleep. The brain's architecture for sleeping has been dismantled. You cannot sleep your way around a structure that no longer exists. Now consider the inheritance. Fatal familial insomnia is caused by a mutation in the PRNP gene. It is autosomal dominant. If one parent carries it, each child has a 50% chance of inheriting it. It does not skip generations. It does not hide in recessive carriers. If you have the mutation, the disease will come. The only question is when. It typically does not manifest until midlife, the 40s or 50s. So you could carry this for decades and not know it. You could have children, pass it on, and still not know. Genetic testing exists, but many people in affected families choose not to take it because there is no cure. Knowing only changes the waiting. There are fewer than 60 known families in the world who carry this mutation, a small number. But the prion that causes it does not only exist in inherited form. There is a spontaneous version, sporadic fatal insomnia with no family history. The prion simply misfolds on its own, in anyone, without warning, without inheritance, without reason. The body, without instruction from anyone, produces the shape that destroys it. And there is a deeper truth about prions that most people never hear. The same class of protein, misfolded, self-propagating, unstoppable, is implicated in other neurodegenerative diseases. The mechanisms are different, the timelines longer, but the logic is the same. A shape, spreading, destroying. We are still learning how many diseases follow this pattern. We do not know the full list yet. Sleep, it turns out, is not simply rest. It is not a pause in your life. It is the process by which your brain remains a brain. Remove it completely and permanently, and what you are, your memory, your personality, your sense of self, begins to dissolve. The person who goes sleepless long enough is not the same person who started. The disease does not just kill the body. It unmakes the mind first. And the cruelest part is this. The patients know it is happening. There is a window in the early stages where the person is still fully themselves, fully aware, fully understanding what is coming. They can describe the feeling of sleep approaching and then pulling back, like standing at the edge of water and never being allowed to step in. That window closes, but it was open. They were there for it. One documented patient in the early literature reportedly tried to will himself to sleep, concentrated on it, fought for it. The harder he tried, the more alert he became. The effort of trying to sleep was keeping him awake. The thing he needed most was the one thing he could not stop reaching for. There is one more detail about the thalamus that the textbooks mention quietly. It does not only regulate sleep, it is the relay station for almost all sensory information reaching your conscious mind. As it deteriorates, the world you perceive begins to change, not disappear. Change. Sounds arrive at the wrong time. Light feels subtly wrong in ways you cannot name. The senses are still working. The filter interpreting them is not. You begin to experience reality through damaged architecture, and you cannot tell which parts of it are still accurate. There is also what happens to time. Without the rhythm of sleep and waking, the brain loses one of its primary mechanisms for marking duration. Days stop having edges. Patients report that hours and weeks become indistinguishable, not because they are confused in the way of dementia, but because the clock that sleep resets each night has stopped. They are not losing time. They are losing the experience of time passing at all. Consider what that means for consciousness. Every memory you form is tagged with a sense of when it happened relative to sleep. Before I slept, after I woke. Remove sleep entirely, and that tagging system breaks. New memories have no anchor. The self that persists through time requires that anchor to cohere. Without it, the continuity of identity begins to loosen at the seams. You remain aware. But the thread connecting each moment of awareness to the last grows harder to follow. There is also this. The glymphatic system that sleep activates is most active in the deepest stages of sleep, and the waste it clears includes amyloid, the same protein implicated in Alzheimer's disease. A brain denied sleep is a brain accumulating the very substances associated with long-term neurodegeneration. Fatal familial insomnia kills too quickly for that to become the primary cause of death, but it means the sleepless brain is deteriorating along multiple pathways simultaneously, each one reinforcing the others. The disease does not need to choose a single mechanism. It has several, and they all run at once. Researchers studying this disease have noted something in the EEG readings of late-stage patients. The brain still tries. It still produces the electrical signals associated with the onset of sleep. The attempt is there. The architecture to complete it is not. The brain, even as it is being destroyed, continues reaching for the thing it was built to do. That reflex does not stop until nearly the end. There is also the question of what sleep deprivation does to the sense of self before the disease reaches its final stages. Studies of total sleep loss in healthy subjects show personality changes beginning within days. Irritability first, then emotional dysregulation, then something harder to name, a flatness, a distance from the person you recognize as yourself. In fatal familial insomnia, this process does not stop. It continues until the person who knew they were ill is no longer quite the person experiencing the illness. The witness disappears before the suffering does. The disease also does something to the autonomic nervous system that most accounts underemphasize. The autonomic system governs the things your body does without asking you. Heartbeat, breathing, digestion. As the thalamus fails, the higher regulation of these functions begins to fracture. The body does not shut down cleanly. It becomes erratic, unpredictable. Systems that ran silently for decades suddenly require conscious attention they were never designed to receive. You become aware of your own heartbeat in ways that feel wrong. Not painful. Wrong. There is a reason the disease was not identified as a distinct condition until 1986. Before that, cases existed documented in the same family across generations, but the pattern was not recognized. They were attributed to other causes: psychiatric illness, unknown neurological decline. People died of it without a name for what was happening. The name came late. The dying did not wait for it. The prion responsible for fatal familial insomnia is among the most stable biological structures known. It is not destroyed by cooking, not neutralized by standard sterilization, not broken down by the body's usual defenses, because the immune system does not recognize misfolded proteins as foreign. They are, after all, made of the same material as you. The body does not fight them. It cannot distinguish them from itself. Consider also that the PRNP gene, the gene that, when mutated, causes this disease, exists in everyone. The healthy version performs normal functions. The mutation is not an insertion of something foreign. It is a single letter changed in a sequence you already carry. The difference between the gene that sustains you and the gene that ends you is almost nothing. A single nucleotide. One position in 3 billion. Somewhere tonight, in one of those 60 families, someone is lying awake wondering if this is how it starts.